Hey Zaka family! Zaka is launching an exclusive membership platform to provide you with career development workshops, coaching, community, and so much more. Go to ZakaConnect.com and sign up to receive information on how to access early registration and perks. Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation, and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you can get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Amobi Okugo, who is a professional soccer player and founder of A Frugal Athlete. How you doing today, young man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. True blessing.
Oh, the pleasure's all ours, man. I mean, it's good to have you on the show. You are the second. I want to let you know you are the second professional athlete we've had on this podcast, and obviously, I'm definitely intrigued with the whole soccer to, the work that you're doing now off the field.
No, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to share my story and looking forward to you all giving me space.
Mm-hmm. And the first athlete, so it was a Victoria Duval. I remember interviewing her, tennis player, right? It was a professional tennis player. So it's good to have you on the show. Okay.
No, I'm excited.
Now, before we actually get a little bit into your journey, I just want to know a little bit more about your cultural background and where you grew up.
Yeah, most definitely. So I'm first generation Nigerian American. So both my parents came to the States late. Well, my dad came a little bit before. He came late 70s, early 80s, and then my mom soon followed in the mid to late 80s. So I'm Nigerian through and through, born and raised in California, the oldest of four siblings. So I was able to get a little bit of the Nigerian culture growing up and then a lot of the American culture growing up. So I feel like I have a great mixture, and that's helped define who I am today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, as a child, when did you know that you wanted to become a soccer player?
Oh, that's a great question.
Was that when you were a child, or was it something like down the line?
Yeah, so for me, it was down the line. Growing up, obviously, being a Nigerian descent, soccer is the main sport that we play. So growing up, I'd watch, the Nigerian national team. But more so, my parents put me in soccer was a way to stay in shape, way to stay active, build friendships, and, have something active to do outside of school. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to put him in the sport and he's going to go pro. As I continued to develop and more opportunities came, it was like, oh, okay, well, let's see if he can get a college scholarship because we're not trying to pay for, college. And then everything shifted when I was invited to the U17 men's national team residency program. And that's when it was like, oh, I know personally, I was like, oh, I could probably go pro. I don't know what that looks like, but professional soccer is an avenue that is attainable. Like I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas when I originally started, it was just, build social friendships, stay active, and play a sport.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you feel about soccer in the league now? How do you feel about, soccer back then, soccer now? How's that?
Parts of me are jealous. You got these players. It's a global game in the States. The contracts, the facilities, the resources are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think soccer is the global game, so you're able to learn so much through soccer that I think I don't want to say gets taken for granted, but I am so happy that soccer is getting to the point in the States, at least, where people are recognizing what it does, not only, as a sport, but as a cultural phenomenon. And it's literally the only sport that brings people together, but also divides people from a cultural, country, regional standpoint. There's nothing like the experience. So I'm happy that I was able to play a small part in the whole, in the professional soccer game, in the professional soccer system, and only going to help continue it to grow.
Okay, I like that. I like that. But I'm maybe down the line, I'm gonna ask you who's your favorite player now. But before I get into that, I want to know a little bit more about your parents and the background of Nigerian culture. Talk a little bit more about that culture.
Yeah, so if you know anything about Nigerians, and I'm sure y'all both know at least one or two Nigerians, they're very culture and prideful. So we really, everything is about, history, family, culture, really big on education, very hard workers. so growing up, it was either you have three options, as a first generation child: doctor, lawyer, or engineer. So myself, when I was able to go professionally play soccer, it wasn't, they were extremely happy for me, but it wasn't like that was the dream that they had growing up. It was kind of just happened. So I wouldn't have changed my upbringing for the world. A lot of the principles that I instill in myself and the people I associate myself with fall under a similar category. And I'm thankful for what my parents have done for me. They sacrificed so much. And if you look at the hours sacrificed, the miles driven, and it's not just for me, but my other siblings as well. It's you can't even put it into words how much they've done for me.
And now that we're kind of talking a little bit more about the parents, a little bit more like what's some of the values that they instilled in you as a child growing up?
Oh, so for me, treat everyone with respect. I think that's the biggest thing. It doesn't matter who you're dealing with. Everyone deserves the same amount of respect. It doesn't matter if it's the intern or the janitor or the CEO. You treat everyone with respect. You look them in the eye, you shake their hand, you stand up when you're greeting them. That's number one. Number two, one that I like is you can either complain or you can work harder. So I am a very hard worker, as Greg can attest to. If you're not putting in the work, then I feel like you don't have the right to complain. And Nigerians as a people, as a culture, we really are ones that have a vision, and we do whatever possible to see that vision come true. So my parents made sure that they wanted the best for me and my siblings. So they sacrificed long hours to make sure that we had things that may not have been privy to us if they would have just stayed stagnant. And then the last one is family is everything. So it doesn't matter where you are, how big you've gotten, family is everything. So making sure that if you don't take care of your family, I know that's the Godfather quote. If a man doesn't take care of his family, he's not a man at all. So that holds true in our culture. Keeping with traditions, keeping with customs, making sure everyone in the family is good. Those are the three biggest ones that I've been able to kind of latch onto and continue to amplify to this day.
Now, some of those values that you learned from the Nigerian culture and also from your parents as well growing up, how do you feel like you utilize that currently in your life now? So
everything I'm doing in the business space, I apply it to, what I'm doing now. So as an entrepreneur, obviously treating people with respect, your reputation gets you farther and into rooms that you may not be privy to. So, the fact that I've been able to, keep a good reputation and, treat everyone with respect, I feel like good karma has been able to come back to me and opportunities have been able to come my way. When it comes to working hard, simply outworking, whether it was playing soccer, going to training early, leaving training late, now in the consulting business space, going the extra mile. Those are things that have helped me push ahead and figure out ways to grow my business. And then obviously, making sure family, and obviously that translates in my book. It's not only, making sure the family is everything, but it's making you stay humble and stay home. When you get success, it's easy to branch off and, lose your way. But when you understand that family is home and what is the root motivation of why you're doing things, you're not going to get distracted by the temptations of what success can possibly bring.
Well said. Well said. Now, I know that you like you said before, soccer is a major thing now, right? Obviously in the States, and it's popular now. What is hard for you to focus and stick with like soccer? Like what made you stick with soccer through this whole time?
I think part of it was because I was good at it. I'm not even going to lie to you. The fact that I was successful and I was being able to play at a high level at a young age. I was part of the youth national teams. I was traveling all over the world to compete. Helped expand my horizons around what soccer can possibly provide for me.
Now, soccer is obviously giving you a lot of life lessons. Like, what are some of those life lessons that you learned?
Oh, that's great. That's a great question. I think from the soccer standpoint is that there are many ways to the top of the mountain. So understanding that your path is not the set path, I think that's big. Another one is there are different perspectives and there's different solutions to the same problem. So obviously soccer being the global game, I've played with Africans, playing Europeans, I play with Latin Americans, play with Caribbeans. Everyone has their own style to ultimately achieve the same goal. So understanding and embracing different cultures and perspectives around certain topics allows you to be more successful. Understanding management and team soft skills, how to motivate, how to take constructive criticism. Those are all things that I apply today. And I think soccer indirectly can teach you all those things if you just go about it the right way.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the struggles that you face as a professional athlete, that some people just wouldn't know about?
So obviously you got the big ones that people see, injuries, the lack of playing time, different things like that. But I think the biggest one that people don't see because they're not in the weeds is the mental stress. And I don't want to say it like I had to deal with anything from a mental standpoint, but when you're a free agent and you're the sole provider of your family and things aren't going your way, who can you call upon to help you when you're the one that's the helper? Those are things that a lot of athletes face. What happens when you're going through an injury and you lose your position? What happens when you retire and now you lost your sense of identity? What are these things that you can do? And obviously, I'm working in the space with the Frugal athlete to help answer some of those questions and provide alternatives, positive solutions. But these are real issues that athletes face at all levels that they have to deal with, and it's something that we don't see from the outside.
Mm-hmm. Now I know you made that crossover from like athlete, being professional athlete, to being like in the helping with financial advice as well too. But like, what was like one of the first financial lessons you learned while being a major professional athlete?
There's no such thing as a gentleman's agreement. You get everything in writing, and then more importantly, get collateral. So when you come into money, that's when people find you for opportunities. If you don't have money, people aren't going to reach out to you for opportunities. So a lot of people will try to say, I'm good for it, do this, do that. And there's no such thing as a gentleman's handshake agreement. Make sure you get it in writing. Make sure you have a witness. Make sure you have some collateral. So now when if things go haywire, that you have some collateral to cover your losses or to make sure that the other party has some skin in the game. I've seen a lot of athletes find themselves in trouble because of that lack of, everything has to be business. You're a business now that you're a professional athlete. So you have to treat yourself as such. And there's no such thing as, oh, yeah, we talked about it a couple of years ago. He's good for it. Like, no, I need to know in writing. I need to have my lawyer present. I need to have a notary. I need to have a witness, whatever that looks like to make you comfortable. Do that. So I think that's number one. The concept, and I spoke about it earlier, but pay yourself first. Dealing with emotional blackmail of family and friends, dealing with expenses that you got to take care of, dealing with opportunities and taxes and whatever. You have to pay yourself first. You can't drink from an empty cup. So just like when you're on a flight, the airline hostess says, in case of an emergency, put your mask on first. So that's what you have to do when it comes to when you make money. Take care of yourself first, and then you'll be able to take care of others for a longer period of time.
You dropping some gems.
We try.
You out here
learning from y'all.
I mean, that's how you obviously are a really good student. You're paying attention to a lot of the things that come your way. I know that sometimes you get distracted, by being an professional athlete. When you're in the industry, when you're in the game, when you're top of in your field, you can miss a lot of these things. These gems that are given to you by the people around you, and you learn from other people's experiences. But it seems that you've definitely grabbed that information and held on to it. And it's obviously helped, like you said, climb to the top of that mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Now, what other athletes do you think over the time have inspired you? I know obviously soccer is an area that you focus on, but like, is there any other athletes out there?
Yeah, so one athlete that comes to mind, and I'm going to give him a shout out today because he just launched the game. So Andrew Hawkins, he's a former NFL player that's been able to seamlessly transition into the business space. He actually just launched the first ever NFL licensed VR virtual reality game. It's out right now. So if you are into that, make sure you check it out. But he's someone that I've definitely leaned on as someone that has been able to check all the boxes from playing at a high level to transitioning and performing at a high level, and from field to the corporate space. And I think someone like him, who's not only uses connections, but uses capital, but uses also his network and education, that's something that I'm going to aspire to and continue to be on that pathway. I think as a lot of times athletes don't understand the leverage that they have, and Hawk is someone that has understood his leverage and is, using it to the fullest. So he's one that comes to mind.
Yeah, that's a big thing right there.
Yeah.
That's massive. It's massive. That could change the game for a lot of people. Okay. Now, I wanted to go back to that one question I didn't ask, but since we're getting back to the athlete thing, like, who's the number one soccer player right now for you?
Oh, that's a good question. It's tough. Damn, number one right now.
Yeah,
I guess you still got to say Messi. Until Messi retires, he's number one.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
Yeah. Until Messi retires.
I know a
lot.
Yeah, I give you that. That it's always, over a time period, there's always those one or two athletes that pop up that really do a lot to change the game. So Amobi, I see that you're the founder of Frugal Athlete. Can you tell us a little bit more about the mission behind the company and like some of the services that you offer?
Yeah, most definitely. So a Frugal Athlete, our main goal is to help athletes make, manage, and multiply money through financial education and athlete empowerment. We're basically a financial media platform that, highlights the prudent financial practices and smart career decisions amongst professional athletes and student athletes. Athletes are natural trendsetters, so if we can get athletes talking about it from the full scale, not just the top athletes where you hear about doing, billion and multi-million-dollar deals, but every professional athlete, every student athlete that has some sort of leverage from a capital and career standpoint, how can we get them to think more efficiently, more frugally around the money decisions that they're making, and then most importantly, the career and personal development decisions that we're making. So what we offer content. We do podcasts, YouTube channel, newsletter, blogs, social content across all the different platforms. We offer coaching, group coaching, one-on-one coaching to a small scale, coaching and consulting, depending on who's searching. It could be a financial company that's looking for different ways to market to a certain demographic using our unique structure. And then what we really like is the workshops and curriculums. So we do speaking engagements, we provide workshops. And then lastly, which is probably going to be our main source of revenue as we continue to climb and continue to scale, is our courses. So we offer online courses around, different principles when it comes to, money management, career. So whether it's something like the rookie mistakes course that we have, how to avoid the top 10 rookie mistakes that athletes make when they first come into money, or how to ball on a budget, whether it's how to find the right financial advisor as a athlete CEO. So we do a number of different things, but those are probably our four main pillars. And I'm actually rocking a shirt right now, so unless you want to count merch as well, those are our four plus a bonus. Outside of that, a Frugal Athlete was really started because I saw the 30 for 30 Broke documentary, and it was a motivation for me to find athletes that were roadmaps instead of detours. And not to, discredit any of those athletes in the Broke documentary, but, a lot of athletes face that, but I wanted to see positive highlights that were outside of, say, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, Serena Williams, Tom Brady, the Kevin Durant's of the world. Those are anomalies, whereas there's a lot of professional athletes that don't have that same trajectory from a compensation standpoint, but they're doing very well because of the decisions that they made while they were playing.
Mm-hmm. So the company's open to all level type of athletes.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's good.
our key component is helping athletes understand their leverage and ultimately manage, and multiply the money that they make.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to athletes like building their empire and making like great investments, like who in the game do you comes to mind?
So two people that immediately come to mind when I first started a Frugal Athlete were Andrew Hawkins, someone that is doing amazing things. He played in the NFL for a number of years, like around 7 to 8 years, got his sports management MBA while playing, and then quickly transitioned into the sports business talent space. So he worked with Uninterrupted. He was doing work as talent for Amazon and ESPN, and now he's actually created his own company around virtual reality. So he's someone that I always like he was like a mentor from afar until I finally, had the opportunity to have him as a mentor, like in reality. And then another one that comes to mind is Paul Rabel. He's a professional athlete that played lacrosse. So lacrosse players, they don't make they're no disrespect to them, but they're on like a teacher salary for the most part. So what does it look like for him? That's someone that's been able to build out a content empire and has used that to build businesses from them.
Okay. I like how you like these individuals that you're mentioning. Like it seems like they're multi-talented and they obviously have a very hands-on with their business. I feel like one of the things about being like a frugal athlete, you have to be hands-on. Like a lot of times, people when they pass their jobs and obligations off to the next person, that's when things get misconstrued, and before you know it, a lot of these athletes go bankrupt. And then they're sitting there like, oh, I should have made better choices and stuff. But if they have someone advising them along the way, like yourselves, I think that's a really great thing, because there's a lot of, especially those young athletes coming out of college, trying to just get into the game, having you guys there to kind of like help them as a platform, then that's amazing. And since you're open to all different levels of athletes, then that's beautiful. Because sometimes I'm like, look, you have to make a certain type of level of income to be a part of this organization. But I like that. Now I know that you were recognized in Forbes 30 under 30, right? And that's a big achievement. And I know that's something that's for being on the field and off the field. Can you talk a little bit more about like the level of confidence something like this brings to you as an entrepreneur?
No, that's a great point. So with Forbes, it was a blessing and an opportunity to be recognized, and it definitely gives a sense of credibility when I'm talking to other folks, in the business space. Having that Forbes brand behind you really helps. It didn't add to my confidence per se, but it definitely added to me understanding like, okay, I definitely, not that I didn't already know this, but from a standpoint of like, oh, I deserve to be here and I've been recognized for my talents and recognized for my work. So I need to make sure that I'm getting compensated or I'm getting recognized across the board. And I shouldn't be afraid to, whether it's cold outreach, whether it's, shooting my shot, whether it's, making a pitch, because if someone to the caliber of Forbes can recognize me for my achievements and I haven't even reached my ceiling, and, the ceiling is always going to continue to elevate as I get closer to it, it really helped in that aspect. But it wasn't like, okay, now I feel value in myself because I made it to Forbes. It was more of a just like, all right, you're on the right trajectory, keep it going and double down.
Mm-hmm. Now, something I noticed as well too, something what your company, it's like it's helping athletes multiply their money through financial education. Like that's a very big thing, and it helps athletes like empower themselves. Why is that so important to be like financially stable in the game?
No, I think ultimately money is not about like how much stuff you can buy and all that stuff. It's about leverage. And athletes, they work all their lives to become professional athletes or to make it to as far as they can come. And then after, it's like, oh, what's next? So you work from the time you're 5 years old, you have a dream of playing professional sports, you make it to professional sports and not understanding the fact that professional sports is going to end. So they talk about, athletes dying twice, when they're done playing from the game, and then obviously when they move on from this world. So we don't want them for that first time to just think of not having anything else that gives them that passion. So when it comes to money, it's all about giving them leverage to make sure that they find their second game in something that they're just as passionate about as they were on the field or court.
Mm. Now, when do you talk about your mistakes and when you first started coming up in the game through your company?
Oh yeah, so I always talk about personal experiences that I've made. Luckily, I've had a good team around me where I didn't have to make too many mistakes. But there's simple things that like you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know that I had to pay taxes in every state that I played in. That's something that you hear about either by trial and error or someone before you will tell you, or you're working with someone that's well equipped in the space that you're in to help you give you a forewarning. I didn't know that when I was a rookie and my teammate, when we were looking for apartments, it was going to take extra because we didn't have any sense of credit. Like it was our first time making any money like on a pay stub. So they didn't believe us, even though we signed these big deals and like there was proof, like we were on TV the month before. There's no proof of consistent payment. So it had nothing like that. So understanding different things like that and kind of sharing personal stories, it helps you open up with who you're trying to serve.
I like the fact that you just opened my eyes up when you said that you had to pay taxes on every state you played in.
Yeah, I thought someone was scamming me the first time I realized that.
That's something where you're just like, what? Wait, and you were traveling all around, so I could only imagine what that looked like. Not being, not knowing those things up front. And then all of a sudden getting hit with it and being like, oh, I got to make some changes. But luckily, like you said, you had a good group of people around you. Now, as an entrepreneur, with your business development strategies, you mentor. I know you do a lot of public speaking engagements. How do you feel about managing all of that?
It's great. If you know of any assistants around, I would love to hire an assistant at some point as I continue to climb up the ranking and get to a place where I can, pay, assistant enough to come on full time. That would definitely help. But yeah, I love it. I asked for my plate to be full from, God, and he's replenishing it with a lot. So, I always like my plate's full, but I always finish my food. So
that's a good one right there. Yeah, listeners, I hope you hear that. The plate is full, but I always finish my food. That's a good one right there. I like that.
So it's like, if you ask for it, you got to go and get it. It's not time for leftovers. You leave leftovers, people won't eat from you. So
that's true.
That's true. I like it, and it challenges me to continue to work harder.
Mm-hmm. Now, what brings joy to you on a daily basis with the company?
Impact and facilitating. So my biggest thing is making sure like I'm helping making things more efficient for other people. And when you do that in a good way, the rewards are plentiful. So I want to be the go-to guy when it comes to a business deal or financial literacy consulting or anything soccer related in the spaces that I'm in. I want to be a facilitator of sorts where you call on Amobi, he's going to make sure he facilitates something to get done to bring us closer to our mission or closer to our purpose.
Now, how do you feel managing all of this? Like with the people now, obviously managing all the different things you do, but like managing the people, because I know every athlete is different, having different relationships and making because not every athlete is the same, especially when it regards to their finances and their knowledge of financial education. Like, how do you manage that?
To be honest, meeting people where they're at, so for example, if I'm coaching, on the soccer field, if someone's just getting into the game, I'm not going to give them drills that I've been doing for 20 plus years. Whereas if I know this is an elite level talent, I can, I could raise the bar a little bit. So meeting them where they're at and, kind of using different stories to help them kind of understand that it's not, Rome wasn't built in a day. So trying to help them like feel comfortable. When you feel comfortable, you're able to engage a little bit more. You're able to ask questions that you may not have asked in different circumstances. And then, sharing and being more transparent about my own personal story.
True.
Like I'm talking at them, but I'm talking to them.
Yep. Now, something that, I know a lot of the listeners are probably want to know this right here. Like, listeners listen right now. There's a few of them that are going to be student athletes. Like, what is like the best advice you could give to like an up and coming like student athlete who's trying to go pro?
Oh, great one. I would say invest in yourself, educate yourself more than you entertain yourself. I think that's the biggest one. one thing that I heard, this guy, he's on Instagram, he says, everyone wants to invest in like all these different projects. When's the next VC? When's the next startup? S&P 500, but you need to invest in the S&P 500. So what are you doing to increase your skill sets? What do you think? What are you doing to make sure you're staying disciplined? What are you doing to make sure you're getting closer to your North Star? And then from there, you're going to go on a journey where you're going to be put in places that will help you, whether it's on the field or off the field, to ultimately succeed.
Mm. And when it comes down to these pro athletes, I feel like, how many athletes from the college to collegiate level go on to being pros?
Not nearly. Like 98.9% of collegiate athletes don't go pro. So,
oh wow,
yeah, it's not like you go to college and you have an automatic chance to go on pro. It's a tough process, and not many people make it.
And do you think a lot of that comes from not just their skill level, but like not being financially educated?
No, it's just the cream rises the crop. There's not enough roster spots. There's over 500,000 NCAA student athletes. Then there's only so many of those spots that are available for the pro ranks. So it's Darwin's theory, survival of the fittest. Not everyone's going to have the opportunity. And then when it comes to athletes and like the stats around, athletes that go broke within 3 years of retirement, that is a lack of financial literacy. That's a lack of understanding money management. That's a lack of, that's an unfortunate series of, bad financial advisors, shady investment strategies, bad spending habits, a number of different factors, emotional blackmail, not understanding your relationship with money. There's lots of things around like the complexities of finance, but also the behavior and relationship around money.
True.
So yeah, it's tough, but from the standpoint of, the new athlete, I would say, they're starting to make better decisions, and the money that, some of the new athletes are making is, allows for a little bit more mistakes, but that's if you're playing for over a duration of time, the average 3 years. So even no matter how much money you make in those situations, you're still going to have to work after you retire. So trying to see what happens from there.
Okay. Well, Amobi, man, I thank you so much for just joining us and sharing this information, from where you started off to where you are now. And now that the fact that you're at a level in your career where you're able to give back, not on just an athletic kind of standpoint, but also on like financial information as well, too, that could really like, catapult someone's career, not just only on the field, but off the field as well, too. I think that's I'm a firm believer as an athlete, as an artist. I would say as an artist for the most part, but like as an artist, you're not an artist unless you give back, right? And I feel like you're at a place in your career where you're just giving back to a lot of people and, helping them understand these things at a very early stage in their career could definitely set them up for a longevity, so they don't have to retire, they don't have to go bankrupt, and they set themselves up and their family up for like generational wealth. So congratulations on that. And one of my last questions to you is really like, how could the listeners find out more about you? Like, is there a site or some of your social media handles and that they could kind of connect to you on?
Nah, thank you so much for the opportunity. So to connect with me, at Amobi Says on all social platforms, www.amobiokugo.com, www.frugalathlete.com. You'll find me there. I'm always down to connect with people. So yeah, that's what it's all about.
Okay. Well, Amobi, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show and just being present and again, sharing your stories. And to the listeners, if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Amobi, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed Zaka wherever you listen to your podcasts.